very good evening to each one of you. On behalf of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, we welcome each one of you to this special talk on growing inorganically for aerospace and aviation MSME sector. Before we could start, the BCIC would like to express its tribute to all those who have lost their lives to COVID-19 and pray for their soul to rest in peace. And also, BCIC would like to express its gratitude to all the frontline COVID-19 warriors for their invaluable service that they have rendering still now. A minute of a silence expected from each one of you. Thank you all for your kind cooperation. Let's start the session. This session has been organized under the aegis of the Aviation and Aerospace Expert Committee of BCIC. We would like to specially thank our chair, Mr. Arunakar Mishra, MD and CEO of Zensar Aerospace and Information Technology, co-chair, Mr. S. Sethuraman, Director of Finance and Accounts, SASMOS HET Technologies, and also mentor, Mr. Ashok Saxena, for curating this session for the benefit of our members. The speaker for today's session are Mr. Mithun Lakshman Pai, partner Verma and Verma, and Mr. Arjun Rajagopal, partner Verma and Verma. The speakers will provide an insight into the risk and other aspects of business case, compliance, taxation, funding, sessions, successions, etc., in handling the inorganic way of growth of MSME, including for the aerospace and aviation sector. The session will be moderated by Mr. Arunakar Mishra. On behalf of the chamber, we express our sincere thanks to Mr. Mithun Lakshman Pai and Arjun Rajagopalan for accepting our invitation to address on this important subject. We would also like to thank all the participants for joining in today's session. Also, like to thank Mr. Baby Chirin. After a very long time, we are seeing you, sir, for joining the BCAC program. We request all of you to kindly mute your mic and webcam option. This is to enhance and keep the bandwidth strong as well as avoid any disturbance in the background. Please post your questions in the chat box only. The speakers will respond to the question during the session. And also you could raise your hand in case you like to have a question. Before I could ask Mr. Arunakar Mishra to take over the session, I request our president, Mr. T.R. Parsham, to kindly address the members. So over to you, President.
Thank you, Prithvi. Very good evening to all. Mr. Arunakar Mishra, Mr. Sethuraman, the chair and co-chair of the Aviation Committee, Mr. Arjun Rajagopalan, Mr. Mithun Lakshmanan, partner Verma and Verma, and my dear friends and all the participants. First of all, I would like to congratulate Mr. Arunakar Mishra together with Mr. Sethuraman for organizing this wonderful program. This program has come at the right time because many companies have been really struggling very hard, especially in this sector, which is also one of the very badly hit sectors. This program, I'm sure, could bring in some of the good practices. Many of our companies, especially Verma and Verma, they have been practicing and bring in this kind of value additions to our member companies across the board. This is very dear to me, this subject, because I've been always working on many of these concepts on the TQM, TPM, TPS, which is very close to my heart. And I've been discussing with Mr. Arnakar Mishra today. Also, I was discussing today morning, I think, with Mr. Sethuraman. I think Arnakar ji, I've been discussing many times. How to bring this concepts on a practical platform to many of these MSMEs and tier 1 and tier 2 of the aviation companies, aerospace companies. They can reap rich benefits. So many times I've seen these companies have got excellent technology, but the shop floor, when I look at them and look at the global standards, I feel that there is a big gap, be it on the OA or the OEE or the rejection rates or on the key KPIs involving safety, productivity, and quality. I think it's very, very important that the bigger companies should play a very active role and handhold these companies so that as a sector, there is level up. And interestingly, the concepts are same. Therefore, in fact, the aviation is a separate focus area of Bangalore Chambers. Many times I can see a lot of overlapping among aviation committee, manufacturing committee, MSME committee, and of course, Industry 4.0. All these things are very closely linked, actually. And problems are the same. The technologies to be adopted are the same. And people are the same. Though the industry itself is slightly different. Therefore, keeping this in mind, I think it's very, very important that we should have a synergy of these committees for a common and bigger purpose. And today, manufacturing is going to attain a new significance thanks to the kind of reflections and learnings that we learned through wave 2 and wave 3. In many parts of the world, wave 4 is also started. Therefore, I could see a kind of a new paradigm happening in the manufacturing, like IoT, the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, big data analytics, 3D printing, robotics, quantum analytics. They all integrate to form a kind of a new set of manufacturing. And more and more of remote locations, unmanned operations, high-skilled activities where you don't need the conventional skills anymore. You need to have advanced programming skills and a lot of applications of these areas. Of course, all these things are going to happen gradually over a period of time, but nevertheless, this is going to happen. And technologies like 3D printing will play a very important role to make very intricate and small parts that go into the aviation industry. Therefore, for the larger benefit of the audience, we should try to bring these kind of technologies and also the processes that make these technologies like TQM, TPM, or TPS, or predictive maintenance, condition monitoring. All those things, again, there is a lot of digital transformation across these areas. Today, if you order a spare part, you don't have to keep the physical spare part. Automatically, the system detects when the wear and tear is going to happen, and it is going to order automatically to your location of the maker in Japan or Germany, and they will send it to you exactly 3 or 4 days before the end date of the life has reached. Therefore, we are getting into more and more of these kind of areas, and the sky is not the limit, I would say, because the kind of transformations I'm seeing in the manufacturing industries has been mind-boggling. And I think it is very important to reap these benefits and share it with the member companies and increase the value add of all the stakeholders. Therefore, with this note, I'm sure today's session would be truly a value adding session. Once again, I sincerely thank Mithunji and Arjunji for offering to share the best practices. And I think look forward to this session. And I'm looking forward to more such sessions. But I also congratulate Arnakar ji and Sethuraman ji for this initiative. And I'm sure we'll have more and more of these sessions in the days to come. Thank you very much. All the very best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, President, sir. So now I'll request Mr. Arnakar Mishra to take over the session and set the context for today's subject and also moderate the session. Over to you,
Thank
Arnab.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Parasuraman and Prithvi. And let me join the BCIC team in welcoming our two speakers today, Mr. Mithun Lakshman Pai and Mr. Arjun. Now, both of them are experts in their field, and this is an area, particularly most MSMEs. They were started, the MSMEs have been started by usually specialists or those with deep knowledge in a particular area. So it all begins with that. A deep knowledge, skill, and experience of one individual, particularly, have been the reasons for starting up many MSMEs. And what has happened is more the MSME is technology intensive, more it is prone to organic growth or struggling to grow organically and not looking at other options. And aerospace and aviation is highly technology or technology intensive. So this lacunae is deeper, particularly in aerospace and aviation MSMEs, where the leader of that MSME, they keep struggling for decades to grow, and they find it very difficult. So we need to start thinking in a new direction, how to grow. There are examples in the West. If some of the leaders of MSME, they would reflect, many companies which used to be there about 20 years back, very good names. There was a company called Ferranti in Europe. There was a company called Marconi. There was something called Smith's Industry. Most of these companies, there was a company called VDU. Most of them have vanished. And today they are known as Thales. They are known as Zodiac. So many of them have merged together, got amalgamated. They were leaders in their own field. Now we need to do more and more such experiments so that we grow and reach those difficult targets which Prime Minister is setting. We need to reach 5 trillion. So how do we do such things? There were Indian experiments also. Mr. Shiv Nadar, actually, he used to say that there is a concept called fractal corporation. The fractal corporation is after every 5-6 years, you should change yourself completely and you should create at least another fractal. And the minimum growth rate is every 6 years, we should have grown, we should have at least doubled, but we are not able to do. Now, these are some of the aspects we need to think how do we grow. Today, we will request our two speakers to give us some insight. And also, after this event also, we will encourage our members to come back to us, voice their situations, and speak to us. We will be able to at least give first line of direction as to what could be the next course one can take. So we will do these things. These are some of the objectives of today. So I will request Mr. Pai and Mr. Arjun to share your thoughts on this subject one by one. So is it Mr. Pai who will speak first, or is it Sir Arjun?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Arjun will be taking over the session initially, followed by me. So I will just present the screen. Just let me know whether you are able to see the screen, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you, Mithun.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for those encouraging and welcoming words, inviting us to the session. I would like to thank the BCIC for giving us an opportunity for presenting the session. So as discussed, the subject for today is growing inorganically, specific to MSMEs and specific to the A&A industry. So we'll be starting off with, Mithun, we can go to next slide. Yeah, the agenda for today is the initial sections we'll be discussing or setting more of a premise for today's discussion. The SWOT analysis part would be the second section where we would be discussing about the specific SWOT aspects of MSME. From where we would be moving on to how do these companies grow organically as of now, and ending up with what is the inorganic growth that we're looking at. At any point of time, if you have any doubts, any questions, please feel free to stop us and we can take it forward in that way. Yeah, we can move on. Yeah. So just to set the premise with respect to the India MSME story, which is quite fascinating and continues to fascinate everyone. If you look at the total number of MSMEs as of now stands at about 6.3 crores. And this is one of the fastest growing sectors in terms of industrial output. The number of MSMEs that have increased in the last from FY19 to 20, the growth rate of that is at about 18.5%. The total number of registered MSMEs stand at about 1.02 crores under the earlier UAM registration scheme, and under the Udyam registration scheme right now, it's about 30 lakhs. Looking at the sector-wise profile of these MSMEs, about 31% of these MSMEs are in the manufacturing sector, 36% in the trading sector, and 33% in the services sector. From all the schemes of the government, we continue to understand that MSMEs play a very important role with respect to the economy and the general economic health of the country. The contribution of MSMEs to GDP stands at about 30%, and the contribution of manufacturing MSMEs to the gross value of output is about 33%. Similarly, in terms of export trade, MSME's share is as high as close to 50% at 49%. And in terms of jobs created at 11 crore plus, in terms of industrial employment, it's one of the largest employers. Just to give an idea about the listed MSMEs, till date, from the opening of the BSE SME exchange, the total number of MSMEs that have been listed are about 341. And the total market cap of such MSMEs are about 31,000 crores. And the funds that have been raised, in using this MSME exchange is about 3,500 crores. It's also important to note that out of this MSMEs, 99% of them, out of the 6.3 crore MSME, what we have discussed earlier, 99% of them are in the micro category, that is less than 5 crore turnover. I'm sorry, Mithun, yeah. And about 96% of MSMEs are proprietary concerns. So this is just to give an idea about how critical this sector as a whole is for the, as far as the economy is concerned, how critical this sector is. So as of now, the definition of MSME, as per the latest notification of the MSME ministry, it's a micro enterprises where the investment is less than up to 1 crore and the turnover is up to 5 crores. A small enterprise is where the investment is up to 10 crores and the turnover is up to 50 crores. And the medium enterprise is where the investment is up to 50 crores and the turnover is up to 250 crores. So the composite criteria, that is on both these conditions, if that is met, it is only when that these thresholds would apply. And as compared to the earlier situation, now there is no differentiation between a manufacturing enterprise and a service enterprise. So with the broad basing and inclusion of up to 250 crores of enterprises in the category of medium enterprise, a large number of entities which were not early under the category of MSME has now come under this category. Yeah, moving on with the support schemes, what is there in place for MSMEs? As what we have been discussing earlier, the government continues to place a lot of emphasis on supporting and nurturing MSMEs. That is why across all different categories of matters which concerns MSMEs, like in terms of technology, in terms of production procedures, in terms of manufacturing techniques, in terms of qualitative aspects, in terms of incubating new ideas and new businesses, and the marketing aspects, the funding aspects. On all these matters, there is a lot of thrust from the government side by providing these schemes, both through systemic support schemes as well as bank supported finance schemes. I'm sure all of you are aware of these matters, so I do not want to dwell more on this. This is just to give an idea about the importance and the significance that the government and the system attaches to the MSME sector. So now coming to the SWOT analysis part of MSME enterprises. The first part is that, as Arnakarji was saying, the MSME enterprises are basically driven by an entrepreneurial drive, and there is always a passion to succeed. So even in our experience, when we have been engaging with our clients who are in the MSME sector and who are otherwise in large corporate sector, we have always felt that the drive for success, the drive to take this company forward as far as an MSME is concerned is at a much higher level. And that is definitely a strength what the entrepreneurs in the sector has. The hands-on technical expertise is the next strength, which basically means that, as Arnakarji was saying, all these companies basically start off with a very strong technical background. The promoters and the entrepreneurs do have a strong technical background as compared to a large enterprise. Them being hands-on on that technical aspect of it does give a lot of boost to the company as a whole. MSMEs generally have a very low cost levels. The corporate overheads are generally very low, and hence are generally concerned to be cost efficient as compared to the other company models and other corporates what are available. Moving on, MSMEs in general are a lot more adaptable and flexible. They have very few levels of management, so decision making and those matters becomes much more faster. In terms of reacting to a situation in the economy or in the market, the decision making becomes much more faster, and hence that is definitely a strength what an MSME enterprise has. Now, on account of the smaller setup what an MSME generally has, the customer relationships tend to be more personal, and that's why the relationships generally tend to be of a longer duration, which is definitely what is a strength of an MSME enterprise. Moving on to the weaknesses what MSME enterprises have. The first issue is with respect to access to capital and finance, because most of these promoters would be starting off from a very basic, need not necessarily be from a business background. So their own capital, what they bring to the business would be of a very small level. So that is definitely a weakness that what we see across all MSME enterprises. And since these are homegrown units, normally the management skills what these enterprises have would be again of a very, very basic level. On account of the focus being on production and the other aspects of it, investments in matters like R&D and training are normally at a minimal level when it comes to MSMEs. And on account of the general cost also being at a low level, the access to skilled labor and the access to managerial talent what MSME normally has would also be of a lower level as compared to a large corporate. Now, on account of the other PR and costs being at a lower level, the visibility of an MSME brand generally tends to be at a lower level as compared to a corporate enterprise. Moving on to the opportunities, as I was emphasizing in the initial parts of these slides, the support from the state continues to be the largest opportunity, largest strength as far as the MSMEs are concerned, be it on the matter of finance, be it on the matter of technology, on the matter of market access. The state continues to support MSMEs in a big way, which definitely goes a long way. And this paves a lot more opportunities to an MSME as compared to a large enterprise. Now, what we have seen from the earlier slides is that the MSMEs as a whole occupy a large space, and hence whenever there's a demand spurt, the MSMEs do have an opportunity to grab that, because large enterprises by themselves are not always able to cater to the entire demand. The Make in India scheme, what the government has been promoting in a large way, has a specific thrust for MSMEs, which has opened up a large number of opportunities as far as MSMEs are concerned. The other opportunity is that MSME by its very nature is an ancillary to a large enterprise. So while having a B2B model ensures that the risk of a B2C market is not directly upon an MSME enterprise. At the same time, as the large enterprises grow, as what we have seen across the automotive and other sectors, the related MSME enterprises also tend to grow. So this adds a lot of value, and this gives a huge opportunity to an MSME enterprise. With respect to the threats, what is there with the ever-changing and dynamic technology scenario what we have in this country right now and across the globe right now, MSMEs generally trail behind with respect to the use of technology and innovation in their procedures, in their activities, and that could be a marked difference between an MSME enterprise and a large corporate. And with respect to matters such as competition from large enterprises, we have seen a lot of cases where the MSME enterprises have not been able to sustain on account of huge competition from large enterprises, which definitely is a threat with respect to the operation and sustaining of these MSME enterprises. The COVID situation has, also thrown some light into how sensitive MSMEs are with respect to market dynamics. Whenever there is any such economic issues which affects the economy as a whole, they tend to, be most affected by it. So that is something that we have seen in as recent as the COVID-19 pandemic. So the sensitivity to market dynamics is very high, which is also a threat to what an MSME has. As far as the bank finance is concerned, yes, there are a lot of thrust on providing the finance, but there's always an upper limit on account of there being no collateral. So beyond a level, in order to grow, the availability of finance is very low, and that is also a threat to the growth of an MSME. So in this part, we have just wanted to set the premise for today's discussion to identify what exactly is an MSME and what is the strengths, weaknesses, and similarly opportunities and threats that is there before an MSME enterprise. Over to you, Mithun.
Thank you, Arjun, for setting the premise for today's discussion. Over the next 10 to 12 slides, we have presented our views on various matters that we think are required for growing inorganically. But before that, getting into the discussion on growing inorganically, let us try to understand what is that a promoter or a decision maker goes through when he has a business in hand which he wants to grow on a multifold level. He feels he lost somewhere in the midst of growing a business in a particular manner. He has a set of mindset that he wants to take it forward. So all those things put together, there are a lot of challenges that a decision maker or a promoter feels that he is lagging behind in various aspects. So that is where we find in respect of some of our clients also that they come to a stage where they are standstill. They're not able to grow after a level. So that is when we advise or we take them through the methodology of looking at growing inorganically. So before that, let's just understand what are these factors that they face. Some of you also would have faced this during, because a lot of people who are the audience here are with business backgrounds and with experience background. So definitely all of you would have gone through some of these challenges. One is to see whether how to achieve this sustained growth for every year. So that's a challenge with bank fundings drying out, a lot of scams opening up, banks being tight on their finance. These are all challenges which the promoters face. Next is key employee retention is another factor, because MSMEs are always seen as a training ground for any level of employees, because people who pass out of their graduation or who are slightly experienced enough but cannot go to the next level of their competency see MSMEs as a training ground and then come and work there. So then after training them, you lose them. So that is one of the big challenge which all promoters face. Then, as Arjun was mentioning about COVID-19 pandemic, this last year we have seen a lot of MSMEs getting shut, mainly because of unable to withstand the pressure because of working capitals drying out. So all those things we have seen in the last year in terms of COVID-19 as an example. mostly in MSMEs, which is applicable to even the A&A sectors, as Mr. Arunakar Mishra mentioned earlier. Like our president, Mr. Parasuraman, mentioned, a lot of modern technologies are in place right now, where it is on the MSMEs side to embrace those technologies in a big way before they lose it out to the competition. The main challenges that they have to face right now are robotic process automation. Companies at larger levels are able to implement it immediately because they have the cost, they have the bandwidth to bear the costs. But MSMEs lag behind, and that too in a developing country like India, MSMEs are always lagging behind in terms of technology, which is where we think the organization like BCIC and including the support of state governments and central governments, technology implementation is a big way to move forward for the MSMEs to grow. The last part which we wanted to bring out is the succession plan or the business continuity plan in terms of a promoter, because all the while, like it was mentioned earlier slides, that is one of the strength of an MSME, that the promoter continues to drive the business. After a point of time, there may not be succession in terms of either the next generation for the promoter or the next in line in terms of an organizational competency, which is lacking. So these are some of the questions which growth of organization in an organic way has to address, which is why we are trying to bring it to you, saying what are the things that you need to look at when you are looking at growing inorganically. So some of the roadblocks that you face are in terms of implementing growing inorganic way is that the mindset to change. Always as a human being, we have a resistance to change. So when we have that mindset, that will similarly apply in the case of organic growth as well. The promoters who have been holding the holding the fort of the company for a long period of time do not want to now give it to the next level, or do not want to give it to another person whom they want to control the entity. So that is where changing their mindset and making them aware or making them educate to understand what are the things that they can divest or dilute is a very important thing in growing inorganically, which is what we meant in terms of engaging the promoter and then maybe educating them in terms of what are the different types of dilution, what are the different types of methods of inorganic growth, which is what will bring to the table for the promoter to divest his investments, or divest his holding in the organization. Also, the fear of unknown is one factor which we felt as one of the challenges that the companies, MSMEs face, because they don't know what is there once they get taken over. And that too, in a case where a large company takes over, you may lose your the business, the culture that you have built in over the years. So that's something which we saw as a challenge in various restructuring or inorganic growth that we have handled. Also, some of the promoters have already gone through this in the earlier stages. In the early, prior to all these technology changes, they've gone through this, but they feel still they do not want to get into this. Current situation is such that maybe you are not able to grow above a level because of all these challenges that you're facing. So what we are trying to bring here in the next slides are the benefits that what you achieve in terms of growing inorganically. As Arjun was mentioning, one of the strengths of MSME is that one of the strengths is that the promoter itself is a brand, but that cannot sustain after a period of time. When you are trying to build the organization, you want to say your organization as the brand, which will help you to grow in a faster pace. So when you grow inorganically, you will be able to build that brand values, because you will have either the capital coming in from the other party, the investor, so that you can build on your brand, you can spend some amounts on the brand. Also, when you grow inorganically, you will be able to command in the market because of your size. Sometimes, as Arjun was mentioning, the new definitions of MSMEs have broad-based the MSMEs that are coming into the foray. So when this happens, so the enterprises which were earlier under small or under medium are now coming into the micro sectors also, will mean that your eligibility for various tenders or eligibility for various loans comes down because you are in a micro sector than a small or a medium sector. When that happens, you will not be able to command that I would say, I wouldn't say respect. It means that you would not be able to get through into the market with that size. So when you get into a organic way of growth, you will be able to get the size, command the size in the market. Also, as I mentioned, external finance accessibility is another factor, which is the benefit to growing inorganically. As I mentioned in earlier slides, also technology is one major thing that you can implement if you have funds in your kitty to grow. Coming to the benefits of growing inorganically is one is that the decision-making methodology will be more collective because you will have a team of people to advise you. Earlier, the promoter used to make decisions. Now the collective team which has been on board will be able to make a decision depending on type of investments or type of inorganic growth that you're choosing. You will be able to focus on innovation and R&D because earlier it was done by the single person. Now you'll be able to focus with a team of people, or you are able to invest in that side. Also on the business continuity and succession, which was an issue earlier in organic growth, will also get addressed. So by growing inorganically, what do you mean? So what are the different types of or different modes of inorganic growth that you have is what we were trying to bring here. One main thing that we see in the case of growing inorganic is that the promoter itself dilutes his equity in the company. So, you identify investor, either a private equity or a venture capital investor, who's purely looking for investment to grow his money. So he comes in and sets up the environment and then just sits outside and looks at the whole growth of the organization and makes money out of that. That is one way of growing inorganically. Then you also have people who sit in the organization by way of technology participation or a management participation, which means they will be with you and handhold you through the journey. And the person who has been driving it earlier will have to take a slight backseat so that it can be a total collective decision making in all the processes. So this is what we meant by dilution, which is what we see in most of the inorganic growths. The next level of inorganic growths are the ones where you are able to try to fit into a mix of either a similar product mix of companies which can grow together, who are able to reach a level but not able to grow above that. So those companies identify themselves and see, okay, let's try to join together, merge together, or we will acquire a particular business, or we join together and start this business fresh. So these are all the thought processes that can come in the case of mergers and acquisitions. There are also separate type of organizations that are created either for special purposes, which can be in the case of aerospace and aviations. As all of you know, the gestation period is very large. I mean, most of the cases, the contract, to win a contract itself, you take 3 to 4 years. And then the contract is spread over a period of 5 to 10 years. So in that case, you may lose out the steam after a period of time. So merging with another entity or merging with a larger entity or a same size entity will give you that bandwidth to tackle the whole order in a better manner. Sometimes you will be able to do it in a better manner in the case of a JV. So you don't give control of your organization to another person. So you try to set up a MOU or a JV agreement, and then move forward in that JV by way of identifying your scope and participation specific to that project. So you don't give control of your company. That is another way of growing inorganically. The last set of growth that most of the companies see are once they reach a level, now they want to kind of exit by way of the promoters want to exit by way of cashing in the benefits that they have reaped over or the reserves that they have built in the company by way of exiting in the case of listing in semi exchanges or an IPO. This is the last stage of growing inorganically in most of the cases. Unless they have not grown in the earlier stages, they will reach a stage and then do directly the last stage itself. So we have seen all these stages in various companies, which is what we felt are the different modes of inorganic growth that will happen in the case of MSMEs. So now to just bring on the table what exactly are the investments that we are looking at. It can be a capital-based investment, which is mostly on the case of dilution, what we talked about, and also in the case of mergers and acquisitions. Most of the cases, there are controls in terms of equity or in terms of convertible equity that happens. We have seen rare cases that debts are being introduced in the case of dilution, because anybody who wants to make investment into the company want to get some bit of control either of a board level or at least at the control level of the entity. Total control level of the entity is what they look for. So debt is the last preferred option. It may be only a working capital gap sometimes they see, but most of the times what we see is equity and the convertible instruments are the preferred route of investment. When it comes to investments other than through capital, we have seen in the case of JVs or in the case of investments that happen through strategic partners, there are technology transfers that happen for a fee or for a royalty that gets paid. So that also can be called as an inorganic growth, mainly because they help you to grow without your focus diverting from what you have been doing it all the years. They will try to focus, the investors try to focus on all these key matters which they are competent, so that you can grow in a better manner and a faster manner. Some of the matters that we wanted to bring additionally on the table was readiness. How do you keep yourself ready for growing inorganic? So when you say that how do you grow inorganically, the first question that comes into your mind is what have I been doing all these years wrong so that I can't grow? So that is where the consultants like us, or there are various consultants who are available, who come in and then look at your books, look at your compliance statuses and advise you, are you on the right track? Have you been doing the things right, which can set the context for an investor to come and invest in your organization? So that is where we say that you will have to keep yourself ready. So you'll have to work backwards when you are trying to approach an investor. You'll have to try to work backwards and say, I will try to get investment in the next 3 years. So that means the day one when you are starting this process is the time when you have to identify somebody to look at your books to see whether everything is in place, whether you have recognized the intellectual property that you have built over the years. These are some of the factors which investors look into when they come in, because if you tick the boxes of investment investor side, which are mainly in books and compliance status, they will get a feel of the organization, whether they are ethically right or whether they have the right integrity in terms of their growth. I mean, whether their investment, in their case of investment. So that is where we were trying to say books of account and compliance status have to be in line, so that you can approach the investor in a better manner. There are various covenants that bankers also have, which also needs to be addressed. Another matter that we need to look at is do an independent business valuation before you get into the investment side. You'll have to address your valuation, or you have to look at your valuation first and see an independent person can value that and understand what is the thing that you need to improve to get your business valuation up. There are things that you need to also take care is or MIS things. So you'll have to set up an MIS process in the organization. You also have to look at your related party transactions, which earlier was not being subjected to scrutiny in any other manner, now being scrutinized by the investors because they look at this as a diversion and so on. So looking at these things, you keep yourself ready is the mantra that you have to look for when you grow inorganically. Based on our past experiences, what we have seen is normally this is a process that we follow. You would have also seen, many of you would have gone through the fundings, would have seen this is a normal process that gets followed. Term sheets get signed off, DDRs get done. So at each phase, there are discussions that happen with the investors. Generally, the process what we have seen takes about 6 to 12 months. Sometimes it can be lower based on the urgency of the requirement of investment. Also, after the integration, it takes an organization almost 12 to 24 months to stabilize in terms of operations. So that is something which we have seen over the years in the case of inorganic growth. Specifically coming to aerospace and aviation MSMEs, we just wanted to bring out this as a specific discussion because aerospace and aviation MSME is not similar to an auto sector or any other manufacturing sector. This has longer gestation period in terms of getting their orders from the customers. It takes almost 5 years, as I mentioned earlier, 4 to 5 years to build sometimes it can be lower, but definitely it takes 3 to 4 years on building the contract or getting the order, winning the order from the customer. When this happens, you will have to sustain your organization for almost that period without losing out on your competition, without losing on to the competition. Most of the things that we see in aerospace and aviation, which is very critical, is the precise documentation that it requires. From the time when you place a order till you ship that goods, and post shipment also, the post sales activities also are important in terms of documentation. Any issues that happens in terms of quality are tracked back to the first level of orders also. So that this requires the companies to do digitization. This requires companies to have meticulous documentation, ERPs. So these are all things which definitely MSMEs at smaller levels will not be able to implement in their organization. So which is where growing inorganically will help aerospace and aviation MSMEs also to embrace the various requirements of the industry. Then obviously offset benefits are one which is specific to aerospace and aviation industry, mostly into the defense and aerospace, which is Government of India funded. Where it is not, where it is commercial, obviously it will not come under that. I just wanted to bring a small case study also, which we have handled in a different manner, where we wanted to tell you what happens when an investor is looking for investment into a company. That too, this specific company was looking at investment into their organization because the promoters were running out of the money and it was taking a long period of time to get the contracts through. They were only tier 2 supplier or tier 3 suppliers in the supply chain of the aerospace and aviation industry. They were unable to get themselves up to the next level, mainly because they were not having the working capital or the next level of funding for them to take it up, which is where they were approached by investors. They went into the market, they approached investors. But before that, what they did was the 1 year or 2 years, what they were going through this problem, they did not set their processes down. They kept it up and they went on to strengthen it so that the investors will definitely respect the organization and the integrity and ethical practices that have been following, which helped them to get the funding through in a faster manner. And so that helped them to grow. Now, probably if they were say 50 crores or 30 crores, 30 to 50 crore range, they were able to double the growth in the next 3 to 4 years. Which if you are trying to grow organically by trying to arrange funds from the government or funds from various banks, will take almost double the time or maybe triple the time. By the time you would have lost yourself to the competition. So that is where this case, what we have handled, gave us an insight. How do you really get your organization things right so that you will be able to get attracted towards the investors mostly. Currently, the company is able to grow at a pace which is higher than the industry. So that is where, with growing this inorganic way, it has helped them to set their goals up. Now they are able to acquire. They were acquired earlier in an inorganic way by another company. Now they are able to acquire other companies and whole ecosystem is being now revamped by them in this manner. So growing inorganically is not the only mantra that we wanted to bring. There are pitfalls or there are challenges that you face here. Mostly in the case of organizations which have been driven by an individual, when it comes into another mode of investment, or whether when the new investors come in, they feel the lack of synergy in most of the times, because the cultures are different. There is a difference in the practices that they have been following from what they are being expected to follow when the new investor comes in. So, and mostly the new investors, when they come in, they have targets to achieve. So obviously the current management or the earlier management which was handling it will feel bogged down most of the times, because it's always target driven. And the change in culture, change in shift of this thought process will take them down. Change in business direction. Earlier you are following a particular direction, now you are required to follow a separate direction. So you are being advised or you are being coached by someone else, which was not the case earlier. So some of these factors which we thought are important in the case of MSMEs, because they try to grow in a faster pace, these are the things that they have to face. Not that these are very big challenges for you to look at, but you should not be forgetting about these challenges that you are facing. So we just wanted to bring in a simple manner so that it sinks in with the audience, and we can invite more questions and discuss. Rather than questions, I would say this would be a more discussion session that we can have. If you have faced any of the challenges, how do you kind of overcome those challenges? It's something which I would like the audience to respond.
So thank you very much, Mr. Pai.
Yeah.
And Arjun. It is good, very extensive. So let questions come. My voice is getting echoed. I don't know why. Is it now? It's correct. So let questions come. In the meantime, actually, there are a couple of more thoughts that growing inorganically or just growing for an MSME is not necessarily only for themselves, because companies are assets of the country. Now, growing is a responsibility. It is not just for the sake of desire to grow and have more wealth individually, or for that individual or for the promoter. Growing is a responsibility. So that is one aspect. Perhaps I don't know whether you agree with me, Mr. Pai, and so we need to take it from that angle.
Yeah.
And what else? There were some few things which, if we can go back to one of the slides where you talked about external compliance, what is that? That was not very clear. It was bank covenants or something was written there. And
yeah, what we were trying to say here was, in the case of when you take a loan, there are a lot of terms and conditions that banks bring in terms of investment, because they say if you want to attract investment into your company, you have to take permission from the banks. So there are clauses like that in the agreements, and they want you to approach them for various permissions. So there are a lot of documentation that you have to follow for the banks also. So that is where we wanted to bring that for discussion.
Okay, so that's good. Thank you. So what is the Prithvi? What is the protocol for questions? One can raise hand.
Good.
Are there something in the chat box?
Chat box, nothing is this. They could raise a hand. What I'll do is I'll ask Rupa to unmute everyone.
Yeah.
Rupa, you can unmute everyone and then they can ask the questions.
No, sorry, Setu Raman, just adding to Mithun, most of the banks in India right now also requires that being if you are MSMEs and they don't have that much of visibility into our financials and that comfort because we are normally individual funded. They would like to go back to the banks to take their permission before we grow. So even if we have some large capital expenditure, if there is a shareholding change, so things like that, if there is a dilution of the promoter shareholding, so they want the promoters to go back to the bank, justify to them that what they are doing is right. Okay, yes, that is a problem because as entrepreneurs, most of the entrepreneurs feel that they know better about the businesses and the bank should look at their business and see how to lend and support us to grow. But then there is always this outreach what we feel that the banks want to control our growth, whereas that's not what an entrepreneur and the MSME owners and proprietors inherently are risk taking. If there is no risk, then you will not be an entrepreneur. Okay, so that's where you always have a problem, basically because one is North Pole, another is South Pole. The banks don't want risk, the promoter or the entrepreneur is risk taking. So this always creates friction. So that's where we see problems practically in most of my interactions with.
Thank you, Mr. Setram.
Yeah.
So we have Rajiv Sikka. Rajiv Sikka, you could ask your questions.
Yeah, thank you. So a couple of questions to the presenters from Varma and Burma. Firstly, thank you for your presentation. So the first question is with regards to if one is a small or medium sized company that is looking at growing inorganically, say through an acquisition. In India, as you pointed out, majority of the companies are micro within the MSME space, and there isn't a mature or a systematic framework through which such companies can be identified and targeted. So, what is in your experience, an appropriate way through which potential deals or targets can be identified or deals? So that is the first question. The second question is that, again, coming back to a lot of these micro enterprises or smaller companies, when in our experience, when we come to valuation, it's they don't the approach is not of a typical valuation method where you actually value the business on the basis of its merits, its financial performance, looking at things like cash flows, discounting, or following a comparables method. Instead, there are a lot of emotional attributes that are added into the valuation. It could be that, oh, but this is my family business that has been around for so long, or that I have personal liabilities which may or may not be associated with the business, but that irrespective of whether the business valuation can pay for that, they expect that the valuation should cover all of that. So there's a big disconnect between a true enterprise valuation based approach versus what small and micro companies actually end up asking for. So that then leads to deals not going through. So I wanted to get your perspective based on your experience on how this can be approached or mitigated. So those are my two questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Rajiv. So the first question that what you are asking was that what is the framework or what is the platform where these MSMEs can go and pitch for investment? So what we have seen as an experience, which earlier days, probably 5 years back, there was no repository or there was no ready availability of consultants to drive you through this methodology. So there are people, consultants who are at low level right now, who are not looking at big ticket investments. They're looking at low level investments and trying to connect these MSMEs who come for not a very big cost. They come at a reasonable cost and then look for a success fee. So there are people who are able to connect the micro and medium level or micro, small, medium level investments through. That is what we have seen in the past 5 years in terms of our experience. There are consultants who are available and do that. Yes, there is no platform available where you can go and say, I want this investment. Are there any available investors? That platform is still not available, but definitely you will have to start looking out for various investors from that side. The next question that you wanted to ask was regarding the promoters' emotional and ethical or other values attached to a valuation. How do you really understand the valuation in that side? Which is definitely, it's not a science, because in this case, these are all qualitative attributes that we are required to value, which is very difficult in the case of MSMEs. And most of the times the deals does not go through because of emotional attributes being higher or emotional thought processes being higher when the deal negotiation happens. So it is always a challenge which is difficult to address because it's not given in any form that how do you value these kind of things. So most of the times, yes, it is driven by valuation for straight negotiate. Straight investments are directly valuation based. These kind of emotional factors are very difficult to trace or identify. Some of the things that can be identified are, say, employee attributes, employee strength, workforce. Those can be done, but definitely these emotional aspects cannot be really understood. But when you negotiate, obviously the promoters will bring in that as for discussion, which by fixing a value, which the investors are normally not do not take it because they don't have that emotional attachment, right? So obviously it is always a discussion that happens and does not go through if the promoter's side is very strong on their emotional.
Yeah, just to add to what Mithun was saying here, on the first part of your question, Mr. Rajiv, there is a lot of valuation houses and investment houses these days who concentrate. Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, you are audible.
Yeah, who concentrate exclusively on investing in MSME businesses. So unlike the situation 5 years back, now there are a lot of investment funds. Even the IEN also has some sub funds who concentrate on investing in such MSME. So there is definitely, a kind of a knowledge base available from that perspective.
Okay. What about the SME exchange? How popular it is? Do people approach that? And what is the size of investment one can look for it?
The numbers again, sir, over the last few years are not very encouraging as far as the SME exchange is concerned. The government is coming with certain additional schemes. If you see in the last, even though it was a COVID year, almost 16 companies have been listed in the SME exchange in the last year. And the number what is looking in the current was about 60 in the current year in FY22. That is the projections as of now. But it is yet to be, it is not yet very popular because of the reasons what Mithun was saying earlier, on account of the fact because there are people who are willing to invest for sure. The large corporates definitely have a certain risk factor attached to it, which to a large extent gets diversified in the MSME investment portfolio. So there are investors on the lookout for sure, but somehow on account of the promoters being a bit more guarded in having their companies listed, on account of those apprehensions, we see that not many companies are coming forward. But the
Okay.
outlook looks very good in the current year, and we understand the government is also looking at some very strong measures to push this forward.
Yeah, if that happens,
two-
it will be good avenue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There are
So
two
there
questions
is-
in the chat, sir. Another,
Yes.
sir. Shall I read it
Yeah.
out?
Yeah, please read out some questions which are there.
What is organic and inorganic growth? How
Basic
do we
question,
start
yeah.
the company with zero personal money and 100% investor money? Why consultant at all?
So if you ask me, with zero personal money and 100% investor money is what you see in all these unicorns, right?
Yeah.
They would have invested their money initially for say maybe 5 years, and now they are burning the investors' money for various next level of growth. So currently, you are not able to see this in the manufacture sector. You are able to see only this trend of investment only in the tech sector right now. But the drive from all these industry organizations like BCIC and these committees are that we should also look into the manufacturing for the growth like this. So which is where the committees like this are focusing on, like Industry 4.0, what is being now planned by BCIC. So these are all things that we really see that organizations are trying to go for and get investments in such manner what we see in tech space to come for other sectors as well.
Yeah.
The second
Now,
question is, oh, you want to add something, Arjun?
No. On the last part, sir, on the question of why a consultant at all, I think the matter what Mr. Rajiv was asking earlier as to that generally the promoters would attach an emotional valuation to the company. Thereby, in those cases, you would definitely need a consultant to actually put a very objective valuation in place. So since an MSME business is always too close to the heart of the promoter, it's always hands-on. In order to ensure that an objectivity is brought into the growth strategies in place, a consultant is required, is what we feel. So there have been cases where matters like how a multiple works or how an IP intangible recognition, the books of accounts helps them. All these matters, there's more clarity if there's a consultant who can give objective advices. So that was the third question what was asked in the chat box, I believe.
The other question, sir, for inorganic growth of MSME, there is a need to define portfolio of competency of MSME. Accordingly, focus on the technology and other requirements to be looked into seriously. But is it a question or?
No, what I think he's trying to say is, yes, this is where the BCIC and organizations like CIA are focusing on to build the competency of MSMEs in black and white, I would say. Writing what are the things that they do and they are competent. How do you kind of build their competency levels with the aid of technology, the moving technology?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think good points. I mean, let questions keep coming, but basically, as I was saying, it is a necessity to grow. It is not just an option. If I am very critical, I will say that I don't know. It is a very strong word. It is a crime not to grow. If we are not growing, we are not doing justice to what we have created, and justice to the country, justice to the contribution to the society. So that is very important. And you have some of the things are actually, so it is essential for all of us to find ways to grow inorganically, to find ways to grow. If we are able to grow organically, it is fine. But if not, we need to think how to grow. And many times the question was, why consultants? Sometimes we do not know our own value, and particularly IP value. If somebody comes to us and tells that these are some of the values, this is your great asset. So for that also consultant is required. And very important thing you have covered is the health check. Before we really go into desiring to grow inorganically, there is a health check required. It should be done by somebody who is independent. So the points are basically growing is a necessity. It is not an option for us. We must grow. And for that only we have created organizations and groups like BCIC to help each other to grow. So I think we should take as a responsibility our members that we have to grow. And for that, I think we will have a drive, take inputs from each of the companies. What is their current situation? What is the best way for them to grow? We have to realize, many of the points which Mr. Parasuraman has said in the beginning, that we cannot afford certain technologies. And without those technologies, companies cannot run well today. So it will die down if we don't grow. It is more like a nature. If you don't grow, you decay. It's not like you remain static. So this is a very important thing. I think sometimes we do not realize, we don't have time to think about it in MSME. We are so engrossed in MSME, in our own affairs, that we do not apply our mind to in this direction. These are some of the thoughts. Continue if there are more questions. There is a question like growth at what risk? So fear of unknown is that was one of the points raised. You want to comment on that? Growth at what risk?
That
if you
depends
don't
on-
grow, if you don't grow, you decay.
Yeah. Exactly.
That is nature. In nature, anything which does not grow decays.
It may be also that, sorry, Setu here, what growth at what risk? Maybe a better wording. I am just trying to change that. Growth at, instead of growth at what risk? What growth at what risk? Maybe maybe Varma can have a view on that, because I know it's entirely personal, depending on the entrepreneur or the promoter's drive, the growth or things. So I just want to, is there any standard growth and standard risk parameter available?
There is no mathematical formula, because the person who's driving the whole organization will be able to take that decision. Because if he wants to grow at say 20% growth, the risk levels that he has to put forward or the risk that he has to address are too high, because then he is putting a lot of things on the table for him to grow at that level, for him to grow the organization at that level. So 20% at the current scenario. So 2 years back, you could have said it may be achievable. The current scenario in the aerospace sector seems even a 1% growth is very difficult to achieve. You are actually degrowth. You have a degrowth in the last 1 year. We have been seeing in various aerospace companies. Orders are not coming through. Although you have backlog orders, customers are not able to give the schedules. They are pushing their schedules by 6 months. So when we see this challenges that are being faced by the organizations in the aerospace sector, putting a mathematical formula for the growth and the risk matrix for that is something readily not available, but it has to be worked on, is what I'm trying to say.
Good discussions. So are we almost end of our time for today's session, Prithvi?
Yes, sir.
We can conclude.
Yes, sir.
And what I would say is thank you very much for sharing these insights, and these are very important. We have to perhaps stress again and again. I personally feel that we must desire to grow, and we must find avenues to grow. You have given us some thoughts as to, suppose one thinks of growing, what is the readiness level one has to, you have given some steps and points one should consider. Also, the time required from the time one starts thinking of growth strategies inorganically, it takes time. So it takes 6 months, maybe the minimum, and could be 24 months. It is good to have some independent input from consultant. And as you have suggested, I think you are one of the members of Aerospace Expert Committee, Mr. Pai.
Yes.
So people can continue to come in and actually write a sheet, at least if those who are willing, how they can, what could be the next step they can take. And also there need be no fear of the huge cost. You have suggested that it could be a very low cost plus success based help. So that kind of thing can be given. We are willing to, through the platform of BCIC, willing to interact with each company individually to look into their issues and desires. And responsibility, I would say again and again that it is a responsibility for us to grow. So with these words, I want to thank you, both of you, Mr. Mithun Lakshman Pai and Mr. Arjun Rajgopalan, and all in the audience, and for our office to organize this. So we will keep it open for inputs to come even after this, and we can address them. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Prithvi.
As an
Yes,
opportunity.
Setu sir, you want to add something?
No, already we are behind time. I am fine, and thanks to Arjun and Mithun for the session. Yes, it is very thought provoking, and with the questions that is coming in, I think yes, most are interested. Maybe you can take it offline, or and maybe Prithvi can organize to get the questions sent over. They can reply by mails. So that's also a possibility we should explore. I thank you. Thank you for accepting this, and it's a good start for us. Thank you.
Thank you for providing this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So as a token of appreciation from the chamber and from the office bearers and the chair and co-chair, we would like to give a virtual memento to both the speakers, Mr. Mithun and Arjun, for this wonderful presentation you have made. This will see that it reaches out to your office or to your residence.
Sure.
A minute.
Thank you.
1 second.
Prithvi, is Mr. Parashuraman there, and would he like to make any concluding comments?
Parashuram sir is there.
Yeah, and also it is nice to see Naini Aerospace had joined.
Yeah, yes. Sir.
That is far away from here,
Okay.
Near in Uttar Pradesh. So good to see that they have joined. Mr. Parashuraman, would you have a concluding comment?
He seems to be not there, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So we
Sir,
conclude. Yeah.
Chairman sir, can we have the national anthem played?
Yeah, we can have, yes, please.
A minute of silence for the national.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे, गाहे तव जय गाथा। जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Thank you all, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.